Welcome back. For more than a century, the New York International Auto Show served as a landmark event in the automotive world. This year, it celebrates its 125th anniversary, presenting a remarkable showcase of vintage and classic and iconic vehicles that tell the story of automotive progress right here in America. Joining us now is the executive producer, I should say executive editor of Autotrader. We've got Brian Moody, and Brian, I almost put you in the TV space and made you an executive producer, but executive editor, good to have you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I wouldn't want the responsibility. So
listen, it's a lot. It's a lot of work, but you got a lot of work here too, because you got to tell us what is going on. I mean, it's a really exciting time. I know my son and I, we've always talked about this was a highlight for us. Haven't done it in a couple of years, but it's a highlight and a staple right here in New York.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's been going on for more than 100 years, and they do have a nice display out front. You know how there's that big glass structure in the middle. They have a lot of older cars that kind of encompass the era of 125 years. That's a long time to have one show going. It's one of the most attended shows in North America. And on top of the old classic cars, they have lots of new cars making their debut inside the hall.
Yeah. So for 125 years, things have been going on right here. We're taking a look. You got a beautiful car behind you, but what's hot on the show this year?
Well, there's a couple things that are making their debut that are hot. One thing is we're expecting to see a new Subaru Outback very soon. Also, Kia showed off 3 new vehicles. One of them is the Nightfall version of an existing car, the EV9, but the other 2 are interesting in terms of their strategy. One is the EV4, that's an all-electric car, and that's smaller than their current EV6. But they also showed at the same time a Kia K4 hatchback, which is a gasoline-powered 190 horsepower sporty car. So you see how the 2 are working together. There's a little bit of something for everyone, and I think most automakers are going to do this going forward. A little bit of electric, a little bit of hybrid, a little bit of gas.
You brought up that conversation about EV and hybrid. That was a conversation we were just having just yesterday.
Yeah.
Many people decided to go electric, hybrid. Where do you see things from your perspective on the transition to electric from gas?
I think there's going to be a lot more hybrids in the years to come. We already see some automakers switching to that. But there's also going to be more electric cars like the Kia that I just mentioned. The thing about electric cars is that they are continuing to grow in sales year after year. However, that growth has slowed somewhat. So it's not that no one's buying electric cars. It's just that the people that are buying them are doing it at a slower rate than most automakers had hoped.
Yeah, we know what's going on as far as, we got tariffs and all kinds of other stuff being talked about. The question about consumer demand, particularly in the automotive industry, what are you seeing from your end?
Well, the tariffs are something that hasn't fully been worked out yet, because the truth is a lot of cars that we think of as import brands are actually made here in the U.S. For example, Kia has a big manufacturing facility in the U.S. And many brands that we think of as domestic make their cars in part or wholly outside the U.S. border. So it's not quite as clear as people sometimes make it seem. Could it raise prices? It definitely could, but we're just not sure how it's all going to shake out because it's still in process.
Yeah. When I think about the auto show, I think about how it's really changed the trajectory of automobile shows across America, New York being the epicenter of it. Give us some history here as to how New York really has played an important part in shaping this across America.
Well, because New York has such a diverse population, for one thing, I've been to many shows across the country, and it's the only auto show I can think of where most people arrive by taxi or Uber. I find that to be ironic. Are they looking at cars where they're going to enjoy the back seat one day? I don't know. But all their auto shows are the kind where you would drive there and then you look for a car. Because New York has such a diverse population, there's wealthy people, there's people in the middle, and there's people that are looking for a bargain. The cars reflect that. You'll see some exotics from Maserati. You'll see high-performance Audis. You'll see also inexpensive economy cars like the one that's behind me. So it really kind of encompasses a little bit of everything because the population of New York is so vast and so diverse.
And we know sustainability is a huge factor on the hearts and minds of a lot of people who are spending hard-earned money to really get that automobile. Some people say, listen, I want that, my toy. There are other people saying, listen, I need my day-to-day got to take the family around, sustainability. As you look at the sustainability factor in 2025, how do you measure it?
Well, we're looking at more and more cars that use electricity as part of how they propel the car. For example, any car that gets great gas mileage or that burns less gas is actually better for the environment. That's why hybrids come along. They do use gasoline, but they don't use as much gasoline as a car that runs only on gasoline. So many hybrids, the ones that aren't plug-in, they make their own electricity. As you drive, it makes its own electricity. And then when you get to a slow point in the parking lot or a slow point in traffic, it uses electricity only to kind of, weave through. So that's all part of making the air cleaner, but at the same time using the existing infrastructure.
Yeah. Talking about special things, I want to talk about female designers because that's being highlighted somewhat, and also some innovators. And so as you look and you see right now where we are in this 125th year, we weren't talking about female designers and innovators years past, but now we can actually sit, have a conversation, and bring some people to the table.
Yes, that's true. And the more diverse the population is who's designing and building the cars, the more people's needs that can suit. Because the truth is, if everybody who is from the same class, let's say, is doing those jobs, you can't always create something that might be beneficial for somebody outside of your immediate area. So that only makes cars more unique, more accessible, and more importantly, it makes them innovative in a way that maybe we wouldn't thought of before. Even little things like color choices can make a big difference. Think about when the last time you had a neighbor that bought a new car, probably one of the first things you asked was, oh, what color did you get? Little things like color palette and designing those things can add to a big time success for a car, even when the person who designed it might not be someone that you know or know of.
Yeah. So as you're walking around, tell me, what is catching your eye? What are you saying, Daren? You got to check this out.
Yeah. There's a couple things. First, there's a vintage Volkswagen bus in the Volkswagen booth, like an old minibus, that kind of thing. That's really cool. Also, there's an Audi RS6 Avant GT. And what that basically is all-wheel drive, turbocharged, V8 powered, 621 horsepower station wagon. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool and pretty interesting to check out. And as you look to this year, years past, we know that things have been, we've seen a little decrease. But so far, what are we getting as far as anticipation and crowds? Your perspective.
Yeah, a lot of people. Actually, I would say that for this particular show, there's more people than I was expecting. Mm-hmm. It opens to the public on Friday. We'll see what happens when the public comes. But so far, just the interest and the number of new vehicle debuts. Because remember, that's what gets people down here. Seeing a car that they might never have had a chance to see before. And that could be from Volvo, that could be from Maserati, that could be from a number of different automakers. And that's the thing that will make the show have a high traffic population. A lot of people coming from outside the city too.
Brian Holman Spot, I'll see you soon.
Thanks so much. I'll do that.
All right.
Thank you.
Brian Moody, Executive Editor of Autotrader, thank you for joining us here. Now listen, for more information, visit the website at kia.com. We encourage you to don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more coming up here on Open right after this.